Every now and then, old Baldy McFadden over here, realizes that, sometimes I say some stupid shit. Well, it's not like I just realized that. I know I say stupid shit all the fucking time. I'm not going to pretend like, my podcast is filled with, I don't know, Oscar award winning fucking, insight. But, I have an open mind. I'm not afraid to admit when maybe my perspective is a little off or needs a little tweaking. Part of having an open mind means that you're allowed to make mistakes and adjust your perspective accordingly. The last podcast that I did on Monday, I had talked a little bit about the whole, the Me Too movement and the sexual harassment thing and Louis C.K. and I had made some comments that a lot of my female listeners, not all, but a lot of them, or not even a lot of them, enough to make me reevaluate. Or not reevaluate, but at least take a second look at my own thought process in regards to this. They weren't happy that I was basically taking a stance of, that if I know that it came off as like, well, if you want to continue having a career, then, you got to be quiet about what's happening to you. And even though that wasn't what I was getting at, it was just, people act or react on emotions all the time, right? I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. But I've come to realize that I don't know what I don't know what I've come to realize. What I think is that obviously there's a real problem out there of guys. I mean, and I was never in denial about this in the first place, but it seems like there is a real distinct issue with guys doing a lot of creepy, inappropriate stuff to women. And as much as I want to, I've painted in the past that, yes, that there are women predators in existence as well, but the reality is that most men, most heterosexual men, maybe it doesn't. If you get harassed or I don't know, if you're the victim of a sexual predator, of a female, I would say that most men, while it might make you feel uncomfortable when it happens, and it might, the experience might stick with you, I have to assume that, assuming you're not a child when it happened, I have to assume that the experience isn't as damaging as it is the other way around. If I had a female boss and or not even a female boss, just if I'm around a female that is that has more power than I do, and she for some reason we end up in a room together, me believing that the situation is innocent, and she asks or doesn't even, or maybe doesn't even ask if she can finger herself in front of me. I might be a little weirded out by it, but am I going to, as a guy, am I going to take that experience And I don't know. I guess maybe if she had the power to affect my well-being, I guess that's what I'm getting at, right? My own roundabout way of trying to figure this out. That if I were to put myself in the shoes of these ladies that have had this experience, I would say that, yeah, if it's a case of, or not even if, I don't want to put any stipulations on it, but I could see me being a little reluctant to speak out if the woman that did that to me had the ability to affect my well-being. If she was the one that everybody respected and paid attention to, I might be a little reluctant to talk about it. I mean, especially if my well-being is important to me, which obviously it is. So when you put it into that perspective, perhaps my podcast from Monday, and in previous podcasts before that, where it was just sort of like, okay, can we just get over this? It was hey, I made a fucking, there was a glitch in my perspective. Perhaps I lacked the empathy to make the connection or to understand, or the reality is that as guys, I think Mark Maron said it best, that that it's not easy. I mean, he said it. He said something to this effect. I'm of course butchering it, but it's not easy as a guy to really be able to empathize with women, and the trials and tribulations that they have to go through. Now, does this mean that I'm going to become one of these guys on Twitter that's filled with outrage? Probably not, but that is it's because that's my male chauvinistic ego, Neanderthalic upbringing. You don't grow up where I grew up, without, at least as a guy, you don't grow up, I don't know, maybe it was different with the times. I try not to, basically what I was saying is that, where I grew up, and obviously the time period of growing up, men were men acted like men, sans all the harassment and abuse. But you didn't cry, you didn't I don't know, you didn't do the things that probably we should, as a species, evolve away from. But I try not to be like that with my son, because I realize, I'm not blind to my own fucking less evolved self. I'm not blind to it. I realize that I probably would be better off if I were able to express myself in a more open fashion, other than calling everybody cunts. And I understand the benefit of being sensitive to a degree, but the unfortunate thing, and the reason why I'm still not gonna start twittering away my my outrage, is because I am a guy, and I do recognize that that the guys that are constantly, I'm not all of them obviously, but every guy knows knows a guy, or has been around guys who will pretty much do anything, including compromise their integrity, to try and win the affections of women. And I firmly believe that a lot of these guys, these male feminists online, A lot of them are just trying to be an ally so that they can get the attention and hopefully some residual ass from it. Now, is every guy that's doing this, you know, the same way or the same as what I'm describing? No, obviously not. But my, my fucking male spider sense is usually pretty spot on. I can usually tell when a guy is, trying to, he is in fact the predator that most women are not aware of. The creepy guy, the guy that, hits on you and or cat calls and all of that stuff. I mean, those guys are pretty obvious. You can spot those ones. It's kind of like our political climate, right? We all know that Republicans, their goal is to basically, make as much money as possible while shitting on the poor and less fortunate. Those guys you can see coming. Nothing that Trump or the Republican Party is currently doing is a surprise to really anyone. But the party that I'm most concerned about is the Democrats, because they pretend like they're the party of the people when in reality they're fighting for the same agenda that the Republicans are. So these guys, to try and bring this analogy together is a lot of these guys that are so outraged to the point where they're tweeting about it and and attacking other men. Those are the guys that a lot of women don't see coming, right? If you've read anything or did any sort of research on like what was his fucking name, Ted Bundy, right? One of his little schemes was to pretend to be hurt, right? He'd fucking wear a fake cast or walk around on crutches or some shit and drop his stuff. And women, because you guys are just naturally motherly, you see somebody in trouble, you want to help. It's an admirable quality to have. But unfortunately, it also opens you up to people like a Ted Bundy or like the male feminists on social media, to guys that are just playing possum, that are just doing enough to get your attention, to make you feel like either you share some sort of ideology or he's in need of care or whatever. I'm not saying all men are like this. I'm just saying a lot of them are. I'm just saying that I don't know how I got onto this particular topic. I was trying to explain that I've had an adjustment in fucking perspective here, but ladies, you gotta be cautious of the guy that's trying really, really hard to be your ally. Again, not all men are like this. Some are genuinely, just empathetic, sensitive, souls. But a lot of guys are just looking for a way to get you to drop your fucking defense. And, I don't know. But, yeah, so for those that didn't enjoy or didn't like my last podcast because of the stance I was taking, I apologize, I guess. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, right? A perspective. And, for me, it was beginning to be a little too much. Every other day, sometimes it's every day, sometimes it's every other hour, somebody else is coming forward and talking about, they were molested when, back in 1986, on the set of fucking Different Strokes or some shit. It's just, it got a little much, Um, but I didn't want to appear, insensitive to the women that that have experienced this or continue to experience it. It took me a while, but I'm finally, I think, empathetic enough to understand that, that while it might be annoying to hear these allegations every single day, that some real trauma was caused. There was some real scarring. Um, you know, and it's unfair, I guess, as a guy to, for me to just be like, well, consider the ramifications of expressing your pain. It just, like, even saying that now, it makes me a little fucking disgusted in myself that I even said that. So, I'm evolving. I'm growing up. Hopefully that's enough. If it's not, if you're still like, well, but you said this, fucking, a couple of weeks ago, well, some people are just always going to be upset. They're never going to accept an apology. They, sometimes they're just you can't satisfy everybody. But the fact that I am, there's a shift. There's a paradigm shift within my perspective, at least when it comes to all of these allegations that are coming out against the guys. The one thing that I'm curious about, right, is because if for these celebrities and stuff, you have to assume that because of the momentum being built by all these ladies coming forward, I would think that if you are one of these fucking guys that did something inappropriate, why don't you just come out now? Before, get ahead of the fucking the scandal, right? Because a lot of people's careers, I think, are probably over now because of what's going on, and while I know that some people are not satisfied with Louis C.K.'s apology, as far as I know, and I haven't paid that much attention, but as far as I know, that he's really the first one that's actually just been like, what, I did some shit, I fucked up, I realized I caused pain. Everybody else sort of, they try and dance around it. They try and make it seem like, well, I didn't know it was such a big deal, but now that I've been, it's just that sort of thing. Louis C.K. seemed to own up to it. So I'm if there are any male celebrities listening to this podcast, which there probably isn't, because let's be realistic, I've probably got like 11 fucking listeners at this point. Just come out now. Don't wait until until the person that you did something to comes forward, because it's just gonna make it worse. Just own up to it now. Get in front of it. I think that is, and I don't want to seem like I'm advising, these fucking harassers on the best way to not end up, with no career. But it would be better if your concern is that, if somebody comes forward and says this, you're always going to be looked at as the guy that tried, that did something like that, and you're only really owning up to it because you got caught, that sort of thing. So just get out in front of it. Yeah, people will be upset with you, and there are some people that no matter what you do, they won't be satisfied. They will, forever treat you like a pariah. But most people, I think, when it comes to most things, that if you just, unless you fucked with kids, there's no forgiveness for that. But most people, or at least are understanding, if you feel like, okay, well, I'm just gonna put it out there, that I did this, that, or whatever, and I feel like shit, and it sucks that that it waited this long, and that it took everybody else getting outed, and yeah, I mean it's part of being a man, I think. Right? You just own up to the shit that you to the disgusting behavior that you've taken part in. But I also have to, if I'm holding on to anything that I said on this past podcast that upset people, there's one thing I will hold on to, is that you can't just automatically, assign guilt to the guy because some woman said that she did this or she did that. I'm not saying that you don't believe her, but you at least, we still have the fucking the court of law. There's fucking still due process. Unfortunately, it seems like there are a lot of fucking creeps out there doing this shit, but there also are some women that will see an or an opportunity. And I'm just saying that before you just automatically condemn the guy based on on somebody's claim, that you at least, I don't know, you get the full story, or there, just, I don't know. I mean, because that does happen. Yes, there seems to be a rampant problem of harassment going on. But we also can't pretend like there aren't opportunistic people that will see, and because obviously, like Kevin Spacey, chances are, even though he apparently was after the boys, but chances are he's not going to get another opportunity to to act or to continue his career. His career might well be over. And it would suck, although it doesn't seem like the allegations aren't true. It seems like they are true, but it would suck that maybe somebody, maybe they're not true and his career's over now because everybody assumes he's this this predator. Now, I'm only using him as an example. I'm not saying that I don't think that he did the things that he did. It seems apparent that he did. But you have to keep in mind that there are, there are predators on all sides. And sometimes people see an opportunity to, they say, well, look what's happening to these guys. Their career is over. Maybe I can, work or parlay this into something for me. There are people that exist that are like that. To assume that they do not exist is, it's foolish, but I don't know. I've been talking about this for well over 20 minutes now. Again, I'm a fucking idiot. I'm entitled to have stupid fucking opinions, or perspectives on things. What's most important, at least I think, or at least what I like to tell myself, is that, eventually I come around to figuring out what's the right perspective on things, and I feel like I'm there now, or at least I'm getting there, But anyway, let's talk about something else. Has anybody seen? There's this video that I saw on YouTube. It might be. I'm sure you could search it. It's called the most armed or the was it the most armed man, or the heaviestly armed man, or something? The most armed man in America, right? And this old guy lives out in Colorado, and they take a little tour of his estate. And he's got, like, I think they said somewhere in the neighborhood of like 4,000 guns, and this includes, machine guns, handguns. He's got a bazooka. He's got a flamethrower. He's got, 4,000, 4,000 guns plus the flamethrower. He's also got a working tank. He's got a couple of military vehicles that are equipped with fucking automatic weapons. The guy is the epitome of what's known as a gun nut. And one of the disturbing things about it, besides the fact that he has so many fucking guns, is that the guy also has a bunch of mannequin dolls around his house that he, and they're female, and he, appears to talk to them. Now, it could be that he was just sort of hamming it up for the camera, because he talks about like, oh, I come home, we have coffee, we have a discussion. He said something along the lines that when it gets cold out, he puts panties on them. It's just, it's weird, but at the same time, it's like, it's possible that he's just, just eccentric and he's just playing it up for the camera. And I was watching this video, and of course I wanted to see what was being said in the comments section. A dangerous place to go if you wish to, hold on to any degree of sanity you may have. And a lot of people kind of shared the opinion that, this guy's a fucking nut. Something, at the very, people are not saying take his guns away. And I think that's the one thing that constantly gets confused whenever gun reform or anything is discussed, is because it automatically becomes this black or white situation where it's one extreme or the fucking other. And I didn't see really anybody saying take away his guns, but there's some concern there, right? And one of the things that struck me, which was kind of a common opinion in that comment section, for at least for the people that were sort of defending his right to have all of those weapons, was that like, oh, it's like a 4-minute video, it's heavily edited, you shouldn't make such a quick assumption about his mental state or whatever, right? And it's like, it's times like that where it's like, okay, you're pretending like this guy doesn't have issues, or guys that, that have fucking armories in their house, or that, sort of have what appears to be an unhealthy infatuation with firearms. You're dismissing the obvious craziness there. And my point is that if, for those of you that are listening, it's like, what's so wrong with a guy having all that shit? Well, imagine if imagine it wasn't a guy, it was a lady, and instead of 4,000 weapons, she had 4,000 cats. There would be no question in your mind that she was, she obviously had some mental issues. We have a fucking, there's a show on TLC or whatever, Hoarders. Now, usually they're not talking about animals, but, people that hoard things are usually looked upon as being, to some degree, mentally disturbed. So if the video had been the most, or the biggest cat lady or some shit, and they walked in and there's 4,000 cats, even if they were being treated humanely, even if there was plenty of space and there was no indication that there was any sort of abuse or neglect or any of that shit, you would still be like, that lady is fucking insane. So why is it that when it comes to guns, people can't be insane? You know, the only difference I see between this guy with his 4,000 guns and the lady with the hypothetical 4,000 cats is that if the lady loses her shit, she can't go on a fucking shitstorm killing spree. You know, but the guy with the 4,000 guns, he technically could form a militia, or just, instead of forming a militia, he could, if he lost his shit, he could take out a lot of fucking people with the amount of fucking weapons that he has. So this assumption that, that it's not crazy to love guns, but it is crazy to, I don't know, love cats, or I don't know, enjoy the fucking sounds of balloons popping, or, I don't know, you're afraid of fucking mustard, like why is all of those things crazy, even though those things technically can't really harm anybody except for the person that has the weird fetish for it, but it's not crazy when a guy has a distinct love affair for weapons that were designed to kill people. If he had 4,000 hunting rifles, yeah, I probably wouldn't. I'd be like, okay, this guy is, he's a crazy hunter. But the guy has fucking machine guns, handguns, Uzis, semi-automatic, fully automatic rifles. He's got bazookas. He's got a fucking flamethrower. I mean, the guy is obviously fucking nuts. And, and the thing is that if he were to lose his shit, a lot of people could die. So I'm kind of tired of the whole argument that, there's no gun nuts, or just because a guy loves guns, there's nothing, that he shouldn't be considered, crazy or whatever. Get the fuck out of here. Having an unhealthy infatuation or, I don't know, obsession with anything is a sign of, mental disturbance. If somebody was, I don't know, addicted to fucking heroin, and you walked into their house and they just had, I don't know how heroin is fucking sold. Is it sold by the kilo? I don't know. But you walked in and there's kilos of heroin everywhere. Even if he seemed reasonable, you would still be like, you know what, this guy has a serious fucking problem. Hell, if the lady if she had 100 cats, you would think that there's something wrong with her. So I'm getting kind of sick of this idea that, that you can have, you can enjoy guns, you can enjoy shooting guns, you can be a gun appreciator. But there's a difference between enjoying going to the shooting range once in a while and, I don't know, arming yourself to the fucking gills and talking about, well-regulated militias and the Second Amendment. The minute that you start talking about the Second Amendment and all of that shit, I already know you're crazy. You've got something. There's something fucking wrong in your head. Now, are you the type of crazy to go on a killing spree? Probably not, but there's definitely something wrong with you. Especially if you're making an argument for not for no gun reform whatsoever. If you're making the argument that more people need to be armed, that there needs to be less regulation, that it's okay that mentally disturbed people are allowed to purchase weapons, then you're a fucking crazy person. There's no doubt about it. You're absolutely crazy. Because if, I don't know how much longer I can beat a dead horse here, but there needs to be gun reform. I don't think that people need their guns taken away, but if you are one of these people that, like this guy, or somebody that feels like they need to walk around, the streets with their fucking AR-15 or whatever on their back, then yeah, you probably should be on some sort of government watch list. You probably should, because chances are, there's a higher chance that if you lose your shit, that other people are gonna fucking suffer. The other people are gonna die than say the person that has, I don't know, too many fucking cats. Now, what is common sense gun reform? Like, what sort of gun reform am I talking about? I would say that it definitely needs to be harder to purchase a gun. It definitely can't be some situation where, I've explained this in prior podcasts. It definitely it needs to not be a situation where you basically, walk into a gun store and take a quick quick fucking 10-minute multiple choice quiz, and pass that, and you're now fucking okay to buy fucking guns. I think the background checks need to be more fucking thorough. I think that you need, just like when you get your driver's license, you need to demonstrate that you know how to handle that gun. I think, unlike a driver's license, I think that you probably need to be tested every year. I think you need to be, there needs to be at some point a psychological evaluation of you every year. I don't think that you should have to pay for it. I think that the government should probably foot the bill for that, because it is going towards the safety and security of society. I think that you shouldn't be allowed to own shit that the military has. You don't need, you don't need fucking automatic rifles. You don't need a bazooka. You don't need a fucking rocket launcher. You don't need an Uzi. You don't need, you don't need a lot of the fucking weapons that you're claiming that you fucking must have, or that it's ridiculous that somebody would tell you can't. You don't need them. Now, obviously, there's a difference between need and want. And I understand that. The problem I have with people is not that they want to own these things. I get it. You want to own those things. I completely understand. Just like I want to own a fucking Lamborghini or a Bugatti or a fucking a riding lawnmower. But do I need them? No. And that's unfortunate. The argument that a lot of these people make is that, oh, I need it. What if, what if this, that, and, the other fucking happens? You don't need them. You just want them. And if you do want them, if you must have them, then you need to fucking go through some pretty stringent, hoops to get them and to continue to own them. Is it going to stop the criminals? Because that's the first thing that they always go to is like, oh, gun reform isn't going to stop. I mean, look what happened when, such and such happened. Yeah, I get that. I get that criminals are going to be criminals, but they're going to be criminals regardless. That doesn't mean that, okay, let's just fucking put a gun in every, like that speech, right? Put a chicken in every pot and a pot in every fucking, I don't know, and in every oven. I don't know what the fucking phrase is, but the answer is not more guns. The answer is not less regulation. The answer is not let's pretend there isn't a fucking problem here. One of the things I always hate whenever, on Twitter, that you get into to any sort of debate with somebody when it comes to gun violence and the killing sprees that have seemed to happen every other day now, is that the first thing they go to is like, well, the Chicago, if the gang problem in Chicago, I mean, why don't you focus on that? Well, the problem with that is yes, that should be focused on. But the problem with that statement or with that argument is that it wasn't a Chicago gang member that shot up Vegas. It wasn't a Chicago gang member that shot up that school yesterday or the day before. It wasn't a Chicago gang member that shot up Sandy Hook. It wasn't a Chicago gang member that shot up that nightclub. It wasn't a Chicago gang member that shot up Columbine. I mean, I could go on and on. It wasn't a Chicago gang member that shot up the churches. It wasn't a Chicago gang member that climbed a fucking tower and started picking people off. That's the thing, right? It's kind of like this kneeling during the anthem thing that everybody is so up in arms about. You completely lost sight of what's relevant to the situation. The reality is that most of the people that go on these fucking, killing sprees were not Chicago gang members. They were, law-abiding citizens who nobody thought that, he was always a good guy. I can't imagine that he'd fucking do this. They always start out like that. And most of them, aside from a few, most of them obtained their weapons legally. So yes, the shit that's happening in Chicago is a problem, but it's not what caused these mass shootings. Just like like with the kneeling for the anthem thing, you got everybody, or not everybody. You got some people who are very upset that the players in the NFL are kneeling during the anthem as though they're protesting the anthem or the country or, maybe the country, but, as though they're protesting the military or, or the police or whatever. Completely just have lost sight of the fact that what they are protesting is the fact that police officers have basically been given free will to murder innocent people, unarmed people. They're protesting police brutality and the fact that they are killing people, under the guise of I was scared, even though some of these people that have been murdered were handcuffed, were children, were women, were pregnant women, had no weapons whatsoever. That's what they're protesting, not the fucking anthem. And by the way, for those of you that are now like, oh, I was with this guy until he started talking about the anthem. You do realize that in 2009, the military started paying the NFL to do the whole anthem thing. Before that, it wasn't a fucking, they might have still played the national anthem, but the players weren't required to come out and take part in it. So what you're upset about is basically paid for and manufactured patriotism. The NFL has become basically military propaganda to try and convince you to get behind all of these fucking bullshit wars that we are constantly engaging in. That is all it is. You're upset because you have been duped. You're upset by manufactured patriotism. I would say you had a point if the military wasn't paying the NFL to do this. If it was a voluntary thing, then yeah, maybe you could be, a little upset, even though the reason for being upset is still absurd. You're upset at them for protesting the fact that the police are murdering innocent people. You're upset about that? It isn't about the anthem. Nobody gives a fuck about the anthem. It has nothing to do with the military. What it has to do is the fact that the police are out of control and have been for quite some fucking time. I don't know why I'm yelling at you, but I'm just saying that, it's very easy to, for everybody to sort of engage in this one extreme or the other, this black and white existence, when in fact a gray area does exist. With the anthem thing, you support the troops. Well, then why aren't you fighting to not send them off to bullshit wars? Why aren't you protesting that? Why are you so angry at people, protesting police brutality, and you're not upset at the fact that we don't take care of our veterans? Why are you not upset about that? It makes absolutely zero sense to be angry at these guys, and to use this excuse like, oh, they make millions of dollars, so they should shut the fuck up. Really? So if I don't know, if I came to your house and gave you, several $million, you'd shut the fuck up if I was like, you know what, I wanna beat the shit out of your wife. You're gonna shut the fuck up about that? Is it going to be okay that I paid you basically to, to beat your wife? I mean, get the fuck out of here with these stupid fucking arguments that people make. It doesn't matter that they make millions of dollars. Just because you have a certain amount of money, and I hate to quote fucking Joe Biden because he's a piece of shit, but just because you're rich doesn't mean you can't be patriotic. And, and I know that you're like, patriotic, these guys are not. They're in fact being more patriotic than you getting upset about them. They are actually using their freedom of expression, their ability to protest. They're actually trying to stand up against an oppressive system. Whereas you are busy getting angry at the people that are protesting, trying to make life better in this country. Yeah, I get that some of you it's 100% a race thing. You just don't like the idea of black people, ever voicing any sort of fucking concern about what goes on with them. I get that, and there probably is there's probably no helping you. At least, through this podcast, you're going to have to come to the realization that you're upset at people that have less power, less money than you. And you've been convinced to do that because somebody that makes more money of you has convinced you that the whole reason that your life, that you experience any sort of discomfort or maybe your job fucking, you lost your job, or the factory that you worked at, moved to fucking China or Mexico or what, they've convinced you that the person that has no power and no money, is the problem, and not the guy in the fucking, $8, $9, $10,000 suit that is only looking for, another way to make a couple of more nickels. So yeah, I get it. If your thing is based 100% on race, there really isn't going to be any help for you, at least via my podcast. You're going to have to come to the realization on your own. But for the rest of you, that it's not about, that it's not that you're just upset that black people are fucking protesting. You have to keep in mind what they are protesting. It isn't the anthem. It isn't the flag. It isn't the troops. It is the police brutality. It is the constant fucking murder that happens by the police, and they get no fucking consequence for it. None. I mean, out of all of the fucking deaths that have happened due to their, due to their antics, Tamir Rice would be a perfect example of, a perfect reason for cops to be penalized. But even those police were, let off scot-free, didn't get any fucking punishment whatsoever for murdering a 12-year-old child with a BB gun that they just happen to come upon. And, I've told this story before on this podcast, okay? The kid is in an open carry state. So you got to keep that in mind. Open carry means you're allowed to, walk around with guns as long as you're not concealing them. Okay, he's a 12-year-old kid in a park by himself with a BB gun. Somebody calls the police. The police, they roll up, they get out of their car. 2 seconds later, Tamir Rice is dead. They didn't bother to ask him anything. They didn't try and, to figure out the situation. They didn't do anything other than pull up, get out, and shoot. And yet they got no punishment whatsoever. Because to them, it's like, oh, a black guy with a gun, even though he's a kid, shoot him. Must be a threat. In a state with open carry. So that's what they're protesting. Shit like that. The fact that the cops got no punishment whatsoever, probably still part of the department. That's what they're protesting. Not the anthem. Not the flag. Not the military. I mean, if you really want to stand up for the military, then I'd suggest you stop fucking, war hawking. I would suggest that you'd fucking, stand up against the bullshit wars that we're engaged in. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Niger, Yemen, Venezuela, Israel. If you're so against or if you're so patriotic, then why aren't you upset at the fact that every day somewhere in the neighborhood of like 22 veterans commit suicide because of the shit that they've seen in wars that they shouldn't even have been fighting? Why do you get so, why do you cheerlead for politicians where most of them dodged the draft, including our president? You get behind them as these great fucking leaders, and they were too fucking scared to go out there and fight themselves. I don't understand people anymore in this country. I really don't, because it seems like nobody is bothering to even take a second to consider what they're so upset about, what they're fighting for, what they're fighting against. Everybody is just so reactionary now. And the sad thing is you have a lot of people, especially on social media that, have, in order to try and legitimize their bullshit, they start taking on personas of others. I just fucking saw this Twitter conversation going on where this person is pretending to be African American, a female, an ex-Marine, from an Ivy League school, a wife to a police officer, but a big time Trump supporter, which, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But if you scroll through this person's this timeline, especially their media, you come across a lot of tweets and retweets of white supremacists that are making some pretty fucking damaging statements about black people. I think the one that I found was there was some guy, I don't remember what his name is, and I'm not gonna look it up, but he had said, I guess he was talking about how Maxine Waters, for those of you who don't know who that is, this is an older black lady that's a congressperson or congressman, congresswoman, whatever the fuck. She had made some statement about taking out Trump, right? Now, I don't know if she was talking about taking him out for a date or taking him out of office. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But the guy is like, well, last time I checked, Trump doesn't date outside his species. Now, species implies that Maxine Waters, a black female, is, not human, which is something that a lot of white supremacists and racists, they like to throw around that black people aren't human, that they're subhuman, that they're, 3/4 of a person or whatever the fuck it is. And this person, this lady that supposedly is black, is a Marine, went to an Ivy League college, is married to a police officer, that's a huge Trump supporter, was like, she fucking basically co-signed to what this guy was talking about, Maxine Waters not being of the same species, and called her feral. For me, that is, that's a red flag. To me, that lets me know that person isn't black at all. That's a white person pretending to be black, just so they can try and make it seem like, well, black people feel the same way as white people do when it comes to, to minorities and to social issues and all of that shit. And I'm not saying that there are no black Trump supporters, but either this person is absolutely lying about who they are, or they're as delusional as that fucking Sheriff David Clark. That the guy is filled with so much self-hatred for the fact that he's black that he's actually become even more racist than, say, somebody that would belong to like the KKK. The guy is absolutely out of his fucking mind. It's disturbing when you see somebody that's part of the minority, the disenfranchised. It's always weird to see these people adopt the perspective of the oppressors. I think what did they call it back in slavery? These are the house slaves, the ones that start to they no longer view themselves as on the same level as the field slave. But they start to feel like they're equal to the master. It is disturbing to watch people do this. Not just black people, but just anybody that's part of a minority in this country that's been disenfranchised. It's weird to see, somebody that's gay be against gay marriage or whatever. It's weird because it's like, it's like, have you been brainwashed into the way you're thinking? Are you mentally disturbed? But I see a lot of this happening on Twitter, especially people pretending to be black and then giving the opinions and the perspectives of the racist white person. Am I saying that there aren't black people out there that hate what other black people do and stand for? Yeah, of course they do. But those people have obviously, I don't know, they have some sort of, mental deficiency. At least to the effect, if you're going to start parroting the perspectives and opinions of the extreme racist in this country, then you obviously have some issues. And that's why, I called this person out on Twitter. I was like, either you're not who you say you are, or you're delusional. Because I've yet to ever see, aside from people that engage in self-hate, I have yet to see, black people sort of get on board with the idea that black people are a different species than white people. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. And how did I end up here? I don't know. I really don't know. I guess to get back to whatever it is that got me going on this is that people are, I'm losing faith in humanity, because it seems like nobody is stopping to think, and myself included, with the sexual harassment thing. No one stops to think, although I have made attempts to, broaden my perspective, to become more empathetic. But it just seems like, when it comes to like politics and just our country in general, people seem to be more concerned with their tribal fucking bullshit than actually thinking things through. It's a sad fucking day. God, how long have we been talking? Oh, an hour. Wow. Has there been anything funny? I don't know. It just feels like it feels like a very serious sort of day, at least for me. I'm just every day, and I think that's probably why the sexual harassment thing has annoyed me, because it's just like, can we just have a day where there isn't some fucking horrific shit being discovered or disclosed or uncovered or whatever? It's just every day it's something. It's either some, one of my celebrity heroes is exposed as being a fucking a shitty human being, or there's a mass fucking shooting, or fucking the Democrats are gearing up to fucking lose again. It's always something, and it just I'm at the point where it's like, all right, are we going to get our shit straight, or are we just going to continue down this obvious path of fucking destruction? You guys probably don't give a shit about that, and I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't take it so fucking harshly. It's just, I don't know. It's like sometimes I feel like I am stuck in a room with people that are purposely trying to be stupid. One of my biggest pet peeves, I've said this on this podcast before, one of my biggest pet peeves is people that pretend to be dumb. Usually it's somebody that thinks that, being the fucking being the idiot of the group is somehow cool or whatever. But I don't like it even in the professional world or the political world or whatever, where people are you're just determined to be stupid, that you will deny any sort of facts that don't fit your narrative. And this goes for everybody on all sides of things. I felt like a couple of years ago, or maybe more, I don't know. I guess what's most disturbing about the current fucking climate in this country is that, I found out that a lot of people that I respected, politically, turned out to be just phony and false, and just, I mean, like Bill Maher, for example, right? I used to watch, his show Real Time fucking with Bill Maher, whatever. I used to watch it religiously, because I actually believed that, that he was sort of anti-establishment. He was definitely religious, and he seemed to want to fight for a better existence. And then the 2016 thing comes along, and it gets revealed that he is just an establishment hack, that he actually thinks that Hillary Clinton wasn't as corrupt as a person could be, that sexism is the reason that she didn't win, and that this fucking Russia bullshit. I mean, it seems silly, right, to feel this way about some fucking TV personality. But it's like, when you grow up, or when you establish, or I don't know, establish, that's not the right fucking word. When you look up to people and you respect their opinion, to have it be revealed that what you thought they were, they aren't actually are, and it turns out they're fucking the opposite of what you would fucking want in a person to be, it can be a little disturbing. Same thing could be said about Keith Olbermann, fucking what's his name that was on the fucking Daily Show, Jonathan fucking something or other, the British dude, John Oliver. um what's his face, I don't know, Seth Meyers, a lot of these people that you would look at and you would assume that, oh, they seem to have their fucking head on straight. And then this 2016 thing comes along and Trump becomes president, and suddenly all, like, the mask has been ripped away from everybody. And while, I've said in the past that one of the things, as much as I fucking despise Trump, that one of the things I'm grateful for as far as him becoming president is he's basically pulled the curtain back and revealed, all of the fucking phoniness. He's revealed all of the fucking corruption. He's revealed the people that you thought were fucking, were liberal or progressive were actually more closely, Republican and conservative. And, he's pulled the fucking curtain back. And, and I appreciate that, because now I know, all right, I bought into the bullshit. I know now that, not now. I mean, I've always been, pretty, I've always been into politics and stuff. I mean, I minored in college, political science. But, I don't know why am I fucking talking about this? I'm just saying that, a lot of people that I respected have turned out to be, the opposite of what I would normally consider respectful. And, on some degree, I'm grateful because they've been exposed. But on the other, it's like, well, fuck, man. I spent, I invested, some degree of energy into, watching these people's shows or reading their articles or whatever. And it turns out that, they're basically just corporate puppets that are just, that absolutely have no fucking integrity or character. Because if any of them did, they would have stood up a long time ago. Because I don't believe for a second that, like Bill Maher, for example, I don't believe for a second that he really thinks Russia is the reason that we have Trump, or that he really thinks Hillary Clinton isn't corrupt. I don't think for a minute he believes this. I think that he's paid to have that fucking opinion, just like your Joyanne Reeds and your Neera Tandons and your Rachel Maddows and shit. They're paid to have a perspective, and it just so happens that perspective lines up with the people that pretty much dictate policy in this country. And that's what I can't stand about them the most. Is because I realize that they're not, that they're not even like real human beings. There's nothing about them that's fucking real. They're just paid to have a perspective, and they're paid to push that perspective, which is precisely how we ended up in the situation we're in now. Because we've been duped. Everybody's been duped on, at some point. Because of people like this that push the fucking narrative that the corporations, that the oligarchy wants. They push their narrative, and they convince people to get behind it, even though it makes no fucking sense. I mean, I've said it before in previous podcasts. I'll never understand. I mean, I'll say the same thing now about Democrats as well, but I've never understood why the ordinary fucking Mo, the guy that's, middle class, or even in the poorer class, why they would be a Republican when the Republicans have never done anything to help their, that would help their fucking well-being in any way. In fact, they constantly try and make your life worse. A couple of years ago, I would have just said, oh, it's the Republicans. And the Democrats are good. But then you do a little research, behind what fucking Democrats have done. You realize, well, why the fuck is anybody, why does anybody belong to either of these fucking parties? Because they're both looking out for the, the establishment's fucking well-being. They're both, beholden to the fucking donors that donate to their campaigns. They're, as long as they are in power, we'll never have things like free health care, or single payer health care, or, free college, or living wage, or our veterans being actually taken care of. We'll never end, the nonstop fucking wars will never fucking end with them in charge. They'll never fucking end. That's why, when people like, yeah, Hillary's the lesser of the two evils, and that you should have voted, fuck that, because she's part of the fucking problem, which is why I couldn't vote for her, because a vote for her wouldn't have changed anything. The only thing it would have changed is how upset people are right now. That's the only thing that would be different. And the thing is there's a lot of people right now probably listening to this podcast are like, you're out of your fucking mind. But tell me, what would have changed? Would we have gotten out of the wars with Hillary Clinton? Would we have single payer health care with Hillary Clinton? The lady that yelled at the top of her lungs in glee that we would never have a single payer system in this country? Would we have free college? Would we have a living wage when she was saying, instead of $15, she was talking about $12? Well, even 15 isn't enough. I mean, especially if you live on either of the fucking coasts. 15 isn't going to get you out of fucking poverty. It isn't going to provide you the ability to keep a roof over your head or food on your table or any of that shit. And she wanted 12. Would she break up the banks? Would she fucking go against Wall Street? Would she do any of the shit that's the actual fucking cause of everybody in the middle class and in the poorer classes issues? Would she have changed any of that? The answer is no. Nothing would have changed. The only thing that would have changed is that you would feel a little bit better. But the problem with feeling better, that's what happened with Barack Obama. Everybody felt great, even though he changed nothing that Bush had done, which was kind of the reason that people elected Obama, right? They thought that he ran on a platform of change. Tell me what changed. Somebody please tell me what fucking changed under Obama. Because I'm pretty sure he didn't fucking do any of the shit that he promised he would do. He didn't break up the fucking banks. He made them bigger. He didn't end the wars. He got us into more. He didn't fucking go against Wall Street. He got in bed with Wall Street. He didn't give us single-payer health care or the public option. What he gave us was a right-wing think tank version of fucking health care, which was Romney Care. Nothing changed under him, and nothing would have changed under Hillary, at least with Trump. I voted for Jill Stein, by the way, for anybody that's like, oh, what, would you vote for Trump because you didn't like Hillary? No, I voted for Jill Stein because that was the only option that, as far as I could see, that, wanted to get out of the fucking wars, that wanted to, give us single payer health care, that wanted free college, that wanted a living wage. It was the only option as far as I'm concerned. But, one of the things that I'm glad we have Trump for is because people are finally starting to get fucking outraged at the real fucking problem. I mean, yeah, you still have these factions, the Hillary supporters that, are still trying to maintain this fucking idea that the Democrats are the good guys and the Republicans are the bad guys. Yeah, you still have some people there, but a majority of the country is now rightfully upset and is trying to change shit. So that's why I think having Trump as president has actually been, I mean, he's a complete fucking shit show. But if anything, he has been the catalyst towards real fucking change, towards where the lives of the middle class and the poor might actually have a chance of getting better. It isn't going to happen under him, obviously, but it will lead to, I mean, it's already started with the midterm elections, even though the establishment Democrats are trying to pretend like, we don't need the progressives. But, if you actually look into who won, you'll see that that most of the candidates were the ones that were running on a progressive platform. So we won. But, I mean, if I've always been sort of a glass is half full kind of a guy. So that's why I look at I try and see the silver lining in having Trump as president. It's also why I'm adamant that you don't try and fucking impeach him, because, he's a gift. And I know you're going to be like, a gift of what? Yeah, and a gift of shit. I get it. But the man he can't get anything fucking done. He's inept. He's a buffoon. He can't get any of the fucking horrific fucking policies that he's trying to fucking implement. He can't get them done. You want to impeach him and put fucking Mike Pence in his place? A guy who could get shit done? Are you out of your fucking mind? But like I said, I mean, this is part of the reason why I'm losing hope or faith in humanity, because a lot of people they're just dead set on being stupid. That there is no fucking forward thinking. There is no actual research done. It's just they say this on MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, and therefore it must be true, even though both or all of those fucking news outlets are owned by corporations that push a narrative that is always in their favor. If you're still, getting your information via mainstream media, whether that be CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, any of the fucking newspapers, Washington Post, the New York Times, I don't know, the Boston Globe, fucking the bumblefuck Post in Alabama. It's probably not called bumblefuck, but you know what I'm saying. If that's where you're getting your information from, then just keep in mind that all of those media outlets, those mainstream, they're all owned by the corporations that are pushing their perspective, their narrative. They're pushing to keep themselves in power, to continue to make the decisions of what's best for the country, even though none of those decisions really ever fucking make it better for somebody that's, in the middle class or in poverty. You got to keep in mind that we live, these people are fucking human beings that are susceptible to the same shit that you and I are fucking susceptible to. This is why I could never, I could never fucking get on board with this idea that Hillary Clinton isn't as bad as the male politicians that fucking, sell out to their fucking donors. Either she's not human or she is. And if she is human, then of course she's susceptible to the very same things that the male politicians are susceptible to. If somebody gives you 10, 15, 100,000 fucking dollars, you're telling me that you're gonna bite the hand that fucking feeds you? when it comes down to it. You're telling me that you're going to go against the person that gave you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars and maybe even millions. You're going to go against them? Get the fuck out of here. You're not doing it, just like she wouldn't do it, just like Obama didn't fucking do it, which is why he's on his, $1 million fucking speaking tour, basically collecting all that fucking bribe money. They're all fucking susceptible to it. They're all guilty. They're all fucking corrupt. And shit in this country will not fucking change until some of you that are so dead set on being stupid stop doing it. Until you start learning to be upset at the fucking right things. Like the fact, like going back to the NFL, you're not upset at the fact that people are being fucking murdered by the police. You're not upset at that. I mean, or you're upset that they're upset about it, but you're not upset at the fact that, that veterans aren't taken care of, that we're fighting, we're involved in 7 fucking wars. You're not upset at the fact that 20 something veterans commit suicide every single day because they were exposed to that bullshit war. You're not upset at that. I don't get it. How can you call yourself a patriot and not be upset at that shit? Why are you upset at the people that are actually exercising their constitutional rights? And I've yet to hear, other than, maybe the 1 or 2 fucking seriously bitter military veterans, I've yet to hear really any fucking veteran be upset at what Colin Kaepernick did or what these NFL people or players are doing. And even the ones that are like, well, I don't agree with it, but, they have a right to do it. I've yet to hear any of that shit. What I hear is a bunch of people that never been in the military, that don't realize that they're getting upset over manufactured patriotism. But that's what I see. I see a lot of stupid fucking people out there making shit fucking, even worse. I don't know. I feel, oh, holy shit. All right, I'm going to end this podcast here because I feel like, I could go on. This podcast can turn into a 3, 4, 5 hour fucking podcast. But, you guys are probably already sick of listening to me fucking yap. By the way, I finally got on the fucking on the ball with having trying to legitimize my fucking podcast. I now have a website. Well, if you go to www.theeffingpodcast.com, that will take you to my Podbean site where my podcasts are uploaded. But I also have an actual website. And I'll give you the fucking address. It's long as shit, so if you do plan on going to it, I would suggest you get out a fucking pencil, because there's no way you're going to remember all of this shit. So if you want to go to my new unofficial fucking website for the podcast, you'll have to go to https // the effing podcast.wix, wix, site, site.com /JDUBB. I know it's long as shit, but, I don't know. I keep getting these fucking messages from some of you that, are like, why don't you fucking be legit already? Why don't you fucking do what everybody else does and create a fucking website and all that other bullshit? So that's what I did. So yeah, there's nothing really on the website yet. It's still a work in progress, but if you do, if you want to check it out, if you want to just go get a good fucking laugh at my, uninspiring fucking web page building skills, go check it out, or fucking don't. I don't know. You do what you want to do. But anyway, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. It is Wednesday. I don't know if I'll give you another podcast on Thursday. If I don't, I'll definitely give you one on Friday. Okay, we'll try and make it a 3 podcast week. For those of you new to the podcast, I usually do a couple of these a week, usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. But it just so happens that this week my schedule is a little more open, so I'm giving you more. If you are new, I don't know where you managed to click on to this podcast, but if you did, can you please fucking subscribe? I'll never understand these people that because I know you're listening. I look at the analytics. I know people are listening, but why you don't subscribe? It's like how much fucking effort does it take, you cunts? Can you do me a fucking solid for once? Can you just do that for me one fucking time? Is it really gonna kill you to hit fucking subscribe or whatever it is that you need to fucking do? People act like it's a fucking like you're making a commitment to buy a fucking home or some shit. It's hitting subscribe. If you like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. You don't like the podcast? Well, go fuck yourself. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I hope you're having a good week. And, I'll talk to you again, in a couple of days or tomorrow, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Just like always, don't take any shit and go fuck yourself. Peace.